Hello and welcome to another Magic Duels Origins gameplay. Today we're finally taking a look at the green-black elf deck, a very synergistic deck featuring a lot of elf creatures that synergize with each other to overpower the opponent. So let's take a look at the list here, starting with our 1-drops, where we have Thornbow Archer, a 1-2 that basically attacks for 2 damage if the opponent doesn't have an elf in play, and later in the game we can still use him to trigger our elves to make a lot of tokens in the same turn or discard him to one of our elves. So a decent creature, but we don't really want all 4 of them, I think. Then moving on, we have Bone Splinters as an unconditional removal spell that just requires us to sacrifice a creature, and since we do have a lot of token generations, there's a lot of creatures we can get rid of, and this takes care of any problem we might have, which is nice, and also only costs us 1 mana, so we can still play another spell in the same turn. We have Dwynen's Elite, which is one of the better cheap creatures, since if we have another elf in play, it makes a 1/1 token that's also an elf, so a 3 power for 2 mana if we do get the elf token is quite nice, so sometimes it might be correct to hold him if you don't already have an elf in play. And then Elvish Visionary is also one of the better elves, just because it's a very solid play on turn 2 and it gives you an elf in play for our other elf synergies, like for example Dwynen's Elite. Then we have Evolutionary Leap as a one-off in this deck. Just to fight removal spells from the opponent, we can just sacrifice our creature in response to find another elf, and in the late game you can just sacrifice some of your tokens to find more powerful elves. But this is not really a pure Evolutionary Leap deck, so I'm just playing 1 copy for value, but not the full 2. We also have a Reave Soul as a cheap removal spell to complement Bone Splinters. This should take care of medium-sized creatures, while Bone Splinters is for the bigger creatures. Then we have another removal spell elf in Lys ALana Scarblade, and this is where discarding the Thornbow Archer can be useful in the late game. So this gives -X/-X for each elf you have in play. So quite nice, and certainly a card the opponent has to deal with if they're relying on their creatures to win the game. We also have 2 Deadbridge Shamans, which do synergize nicely with, for example, Evolutionary Leap, since you can sacrifice them and force the opponent to discard, but they're also a fine 2-for-1 regardless. 1 toughness can be a downside, of course, but that's why we're only playing 2 copies. We're also playing Nissa, since she is a planeswalker and also an elf. Very powerful effect if you do get her to flip and she becomes the planeswalker side. And as a 2/2 that fetches a forest, she's still fine, as she is an elf. We also have a Jagged-Scar Archers, which is one of the better payoff cards. Power and toughness equal to the number of elves you control and can shoot down any flying creatures. So very powerful, combined with 1-drop into Dwynen's Elite into Jagged-Scar Archers, can be very deadly. We also have a one-off Reclamation Sage to deal with opposing Evolutionary Leaps, for example. Then the other payoff card for playing all these elves is Shaman of the Pack. Usually you want to keep this in hand until you have a bunch of elves in play, and then this can deal lots of damage to the opponent out of nowhere, so you don't even have to attack with your elves in order to win. You can just play 1 or 2 Shamans and get the job done. We also have Dwynen, Gilt-Leaf Daen as a lord, giving all elf creatures +1/+1, also has reach so can stop flyers, and you gain some life if you attack with her and other elves, so nice against aggro decks in particular. Another very important card in this deck is Lys ALana Huntmaster, a 3/3 for 4, but whenever you play an elf, you get a 1/1 elf warrior creature token, so you want to usually play this on turn 4 and then play as many elves as you can the following turn, making a lot of tokens, and then if you can follow it up with a Shaman of the Pack, you'll get a token for casting the Shaman, then the Shaman enters and deals lots of damage to the opponent. And then our final elf here is Gilt-Leaf Winnower as another removal spell creature that can kill non-elf creatures with power not equal to the toughness. And a 4/3 menace for 5 mana is still quite nice, since we are an aggressive deck. Then for our mana base, 7 swamps, 10 forests, 2 Woodland Cemeteries, and 4 Golgari Guildgates. Alright, that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, let's take a look at our opener, which looks pretty good. We have a decent curve of Elite into Shaman into other Shaman. And we can also play this Huntmaster and maybe save one of our elves to play afterwards. Opponent on Mountain, node 1-drop. Another Huntmaster. I do think we play out the Dwynen's Elite here, even if we don't get any value from it. Just because we want to be aggressive here. As we still have these 2 Huntmasters for the late game. And no play from the opponent. Could definitely have a removal spell for the Elite. Decides to use it now, which is, I think, smart, since elf decks sometimes do have bump spells, which could have saved the Elite. Now we just get to play the Shaman. And pass. And now I think we get to find out if our opponent has too many lands in hand. And there's another Twin Bolt at the end of turn. And instead our opponent discards an Enthralling Victor. So must be short on lands. And this also means our opponent could be on the red-black sacrifice deck. But yeah, I'm just gonna play out the Huntmaster here. This could get met by a Fiery Impulse. But we don't really have a better option. And yep, there's Fiery Impulse. So our opponent with lots of removal. Luckily we have a second Huntmaster here. Fire Fiend Elemental. Well, that's unfortunate, since now that it's renowned, we can't target it with Reave Soul any longer. But now I don't think our opponent's on the red-black sacrifice deck, instead it's just some sort of aggressive red deck. So I think we just play the Huntmaster over Dwynen. Although we could play Dwynen to protect the Huntmaster from another Fiery Impulse. But then we would not get the token. So do we put our opponent on having another Fiery Impulse or not? I think I just go for the Huntmaster here. There's an Amber Hauler, which can only deal 2 damage. So I don't think our opponent has the Fiery Impulse here, or we would have seen it. And the Fire Fiend does get in for 4. I'm not gonna block. Is this a Titan Strength? Yes, it is. Take 7, go to 9. But now we get to play Dwynen. Get a token. And we can even attack with the Huntmaster. No blocks from the opponent. And 2 Shamans should be pretty good to close out this game. So we just have to survive long enough. Traitorous Instincts. Well, this isn't great for us. Opponent even gets a trigger. So we do have to block one of the big ones here. So might as well block the largest one. We take 6, go to 3, our opponent still can activate Amber Hauler, so we go to 1. But we do get to gain some life from Dwynen at least next turn. So we're not dead yet. So now is a good time to use a Reave Soul on the Amber Hauler, so our opponent can't sacrifice it in response, get to play the Shaman, make another Elf. Opponent can lose some life. And I think we do attack with both here. Yeah, I think we go for it. So if he does steal one of our creatures, we can chum block the larger one, take 4 down to 1, and next turn likely win with the other Shaman. And yep, looks like we got there. And no attack from the AI. And a Glory Chaser, a little late to the party, as the war is already over. And let's just play Shaman, get a token, and kill our opponent without even having to attack. Alright, sweet. And let's move on to the next one. Alright, let's take a look at our opener, which looks pretty good here. We have a 1-drop into a 2-drop, and if we draw a 3rd land, we'll have a 4th land, plus some cheap removal. So this is pretty much the ideal start if we can find 1 or 2 more lands. And Thornbow Archer with 2 toughness can even attack into a Perilous Mirror. And that's still a decent trade for us. No 2-drop. Let's attack first. Opponent takes 2. And hope to find a land with this Visionary. Still have a draw step to find one. Twin Bolt will kill the Thornbow Archer, which is fine. And land, nice. Let's attack. And here we could play the Scarblade, but if our opponent has a second Twin Bolt, we do get kind of owned. So I think I just run out the Nissa here. And then next turn we can probably just play the Huntmaster. Our opponent on Junt colors here, which is interesting. I'm not sure what that means. Alright, Zendikar Incarnate is a big guy. We do have a Bone Splinters, but we can probably take a hit or 2 from it. I think I want to use this turn to play out our Huntmaster, just to get those tokens going. Hope he survives. And pass the turn, and then we can try and use one of those tokens with the Bone Splinters. No attacks. Just trying to be as mana efficient as possible here. Also interesting to note the Scarblade plus Reave Soul interaction. If you shrink down the enemy creature enough, then Reave Soul can maybe kill it. Opponent does attack, and I'll just take it here. As long as we get enough tokens going, we can block these forever. And let's see, just 3 colors there, so Dwynen's also interesting. I think I like playing Dwynen here, get a token from it, and then use that token to Bone Splinters away the Zendikar Incarnate. And we can even attack for quite a bunch here. And next turn Can even gain some life with the Dwynen. So not in a bad spot. Our opponent could have a Chandra's Ignition here to own us. Instead it's a Into the Maw of Hell. So removal plus land destruction. It kind of gets us here since we don't have a second black source, which is unfortunate. So I guess we're just playing this Reclamation Sage. Yeah, let's just try and go wide here. And I don't think we have a good attack. Let's see, if he blocks here, we still get him for 6 next turn. Naturalists makes that a little more difficult. No attacks. Alright, this is the card we're looking for. This can certainly help us out. And yeah, let's pause the turn. If we can get this Scarblade down, we can also start working on the opponent's creatures. Opponent left. And I'm not sure why, because we're pretty far from having lethal. And the archers can't really attack into this board, although the Huntmaster does help. So maybe, let's see, next turn, if we attack with everyone, this gets blocked, this gets blocked, this gets blocked, we still get in for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, we should be able to attack for the win. Let's double check here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Alright, let's take a look at our opener, which looks pretty good. A little awkward that we can't play the Archer on turn 1 unless we draw Swamp. But at least we've got a pretty low curve topping off with Dwynen, so let's play the Guildgate and pass. So next turn, probably just gonna play the Visionary. And then we have to decide if we want to play Leap and keep up mana to activate it, or if we want to play something else. So we do have the option of killing Perilous Mirror here with Reave Soul, but if our opponent is on the blue-red artifacts deck, there's a lot higher priority targets that we should kill with Reave Soul. So I think we just play out the Visionary. And I'm fine trading these. And there's a Thopter Engineer, so our opponent is on the blue-red artifacts deck. Let's see if Perilous Mirror comes in. Doesn't look like it. So take 1. So the Engineer certainly a decent target for a Reave Soul. What is our play otherwise? I don't think I want to play the Archers, because that gets owned by Twin Bolt. Our opponent can deal 1 here, deal 1 here and kill them both. Unfortunately no double black, so we can't play Reave Soul plus Thornbow Archer, so I think we just have to Reave Soul the Engineer and pause the turn. So next turn we can play Archer plus other archers, making this a 3-3 and safe from a single Twin Bolt. If our opponent has Twin Bolt plus another removal spell, we could still get owned. So to prevent that, we can just play Dwynen. Yeah, I think we try that. Play Dwynen first, so we don't get owned by 2 removal spells. And then we can play it slow with Evolutionary Leap, not attacking here, because a double block would kill Dwynen. And the reach also helps against the Thopter tokens. So we could see something like Whirler Rogue or Thopter Spy Network. But if it's a Thopter Spy Network, we can block the Thopter if it attacks. So no attacks and no plays, interesting. So our opponent could be holding removal spells. We could play Evolutionary Leap and play these 2 next turn. Or well, we could play Leap and play the Archer, but save the Archers for next turn in case our opponent does have some sort of removal. And by playing a land and playing a leap, we also play around a possible counterspell. Yeah, I don't hate it. Our opponent didn't apply more pressure last turn. Twin Bolt in response, targeting the 2 Perilous Mirrors, which now take down Dwynen. Alright, that's a trade I'm not too sad about. So now we just get to play the Archer. And pass the turn. So our opponent 3-4-1'd himself in order to take down Dwynen, which is a pretty high priority target to be fair. Jessian Thief is fine. Thopter comes in. So Reclamation Sage could kill this Thopter token, but if our opponent is playing cards like Thopter Spy Network, that's a pretty important target for the Reclamation Sage. So I think I'll just play the Archer here and pass the turn. And our opponent's gonna have to deal with the Archers, otherwise we're killing the Thopter anyways. So Claustrophobia. Yeah, I think that's gonna happen. Or actually, we could also just Reclamation Sage the Claustrophobia next turn, which is probably better. So if this attacks, I don't hate blocking with the Elvish Visionary and then sacrificing it to the Evolutionary Leap. So our opponent doesn't get to draw a card. Nissa is a good draw. Only take 1. So we get to play Nissa, Transformer, and play Reclamation Sage, keeping up Evolutionary Leap. I guess we could have also played the Huntmaster first, but I think getting Nissa transformed is worth more than a couple tokens. And I also want to unlock the Claustrophobia here. So let's see, do we want to make a token or draw some cards? I think we want to draw some cards. Bone Splinters is nice. Could also be used with the Archers here. I kind of like playing the Reclamation Sage though. Pause the turn. I guess we can attack. Although if our opponent kills the Sage, I want to be able to protect our Nissa. And then next turn we can start making tokens. Telling Time triggers Prowess. Another Claustrophobia on the Archers again, alright. So I guess that's gonna be our target for Bone Splinters. So Thief and Thopter both go at Nissa. So I think we want to block and then use a leap again. Visionary is fine. Nissa down to 3. Winnower is a great draw. So I do want to get this Huntmaster down at some point, but we keep drawing these awesome cards instead. I think we can take a turn off casting the Huntmaster here. And plus Nissa. Land. So I guess we could play the Winnower here, but I want to keep up Evolutionary Leap mana. So I'm just going to play the Visionary. Make a token. And... alright. I think we pass a turn here. No need to Bone Splinters this. We can just block and activate Leap. And I guess this can attack. Alright. So now we can just start sacrificing tokens to find more elves, which give us more tokens. So Overlord Rogue can make the Jessian Thief unblockable here. So I guess we'll have to kill it next turn. Decides to attack us. Draws a card. I did want to sacrifice the archers to Evolutionary Leap at the end of turn, but didn't get the chance to. So let's play the Winnower. Killing Jessian Thief. Plus Nissa. Finds a land. Plays Scarblade. And let's see. I guess we're attacking with Reclamation Sage. And pause the turn. So the tokens can go to Nissa. Another Telling Time. Putting Nissa at 2. But your opponent does have to be careful that we don't just kill him in one attack. If we ever find a Shaman of the pack, our opponent is pretty dead. So I think I'm just gonna sacrifice a few tokens and this Archers to the Leap. Fiery Impulse, targeting the Huntmaster, will sacrifice in response. Finds an Archer, which is a good creature to discard to the Scarblade. Sigil of Valor, but no mana to equip it. all the tokens attacking us instead of Nissa. And here I think I'll sacrifice the archers. See what we draw. Another archer. And I guess we'll also sacrifice a token. Dwynen's elite. Another land. Let's see. I think we want to plus Nissa first. Another Scarblade. So now we can activate this, discarding Thornbow Archer. Opponent left, and I think we can start by attacking. We could have kept up the Scarblade to kill the creature that gets equipped by the Sigil of Valor, but I don't think that's super important. So let's play the elite. And I guess we'll play out the other Scarblade. And I guess we can sacrifice one of the tokens. See if we can find a Shaman of the pack. Doesn't look like it. But this will also get the job done. Twin Bolt. One to Nissa, one to us. Alright. Token gets equipped. And can put Nissa down to 1. Which is fine. But yeah, our opponent's just dead to our attack. And yeah, let's just attack here. Alright, so didn't even need the Shaman of the pack here. So I wanna thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this gameplay. And as always, have a nice day.